Do you want to start us off and talk about your mission and what you have
You know,
going on
you
here?
can start. I feel like I don't know what's going on here, so I'm just hanging out. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go with your flow. I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna let you mirror for me.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I came to Substack probably just a little over a month ago, after I finished writing my first book. It's called Soft Girl Era: Mind Maps to the Heart. It's a really cool blend of guided journaling and like self-led visualization. So I really wanted to find a community where it was going to be receptive, and I prayed on it, and then literally the next day I found Substack. So I was
Oh,
like,
I love those.
right? So I was like, all right, this has got to be it. So I've just been toying around. I write kind of pieces that call to me most, and I'm building like nice little friendships and community, and it's just so nice to be here. What's your experience
Awesome.
been like so
So
far?
I've actually been on Substack. So I used to host just a newsletter here. So I've been doing that for about a year now, for sure, a year now. But I was just using this as a place to have a newsletter. That was it. I never logged up. I never was like engaging. I wasn't doing notes. I wasn't doing any of that. Um, and I don't know how I ended up starting to get active. I don't fully remember how I got here. But I just started being active about a month or a month and a half ago. So this just started where I just started actually being active. I deleted all my social medias. I just talked about TikTok because I love TikTok. Like, I love it so much. I just think that TikTok is like I'm not a comparison person. I've never had those issues. So I don't really care too much about people. Like, I'm more so, I see everybody as an example of what's possible. So nobody's life is like better or worse. Like, I just feel like we're all an example of what's possible. So TikTok for me is like, people inspire me of like elevating my life, or what do I want to experience that I'm not thinking about, right? So it keeps me like engaged with like the infinite possibilities in this world. So I have TikTok, but I don't have anything else. I deactivated my LinkedIn. I deleted completely my Facebook, which I've had since I was like 18. So that's over 20 years. No, yeah, about 20 years. So like I deleted everything, every single page I had, all my Twitters, everything. And so now I'm here and I'm kind of just like, just playing it out. I'm a very like, I live a very easeful life, and everything I do has to be easeful. I do not believe in working super hard. I don't believe in making things more complicated than it has to. I really believe that life is simple. And so my journey has been getting back to that simplicity, letting go of the go hard. I grew up in New York, so this is a very go, go, go energy. And so my nervous system is always on go. And so really resetting my nervous system to be able to just tolerate a slow, easeful, nothing matters kind of life. And so Substack is kind of the place where I'm just being here. Like, I want to be in community. I want to continue to share what I have to share. And so I feel like this is a place where I can do everything. I don't have to have a whole bunch of profiles. I can do everything here. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just going to build my own world here and see where it takes me.
Yeah, that's so cool. I resonate with that so much. I spent a long time in mental health and social work.
Hmm.
Um, and my nervous system, like, God love her because she really did her best. But when it was time to go, she just came barging through. She said, no more. So that lifestyle of bringing it back to like the
Hmm.
slow and the simple,
Yeah.
I resonate with completely.
Yeah.
And that's why I love Substack too, because as a creative, I feel like we oftentimes have so many ideas,
Hmm.
and like you were saying, like before it was so hard to manage like all these channels, but here you can just create a tab for it.
Yes.
Like I was
Right. You
browsing your
see,
page
that's exactly
before.
literally everything I want is here. Like, I can do everything. I don't have to. And this is who I am. I just do not believe in doing the most. I like, mind you, I do the most, but like in a way that feel easeful for me, right? Like, my most is like only what feels aligned. Not like, oh, you have to do. I'm not doing all that.
Exactly. That's so funny.
No.
That's how I've like come to be
Yeah.
also. And that's something really cool about like building our own projects too, and like starting from the ground up. There's
Yeah.
like a lot of um, just like joy in that, and seeing people come in and resonate with any little piece that you put out is so
Right.
cool.
And
And
don't
I
they?
think
I.
that that kind of touches towards the remembrance room a little bit.
Yeah.
What was like your initial vision for that space?
So so the Remembrance Room used to be the Free Spirit Dispatch. That's what it originally was, just a couple of months ago, and that's what my newsletter was. It was Free Spirit Dispatch. It was my way of like starting this. What was I calling it? Radical self-acceptance mission, right? Where I'm just telling people, do what the f you want. Like I don't listen to anybody telling me what to do, how it's supposed to look. I don't care about none of that, because I over the years, right, like clearly the longer I have experiences here on this earth, I realize how nothing matters, right? It really isn't that big of a deal. um there's no perfect way. There's just different ways. And so so Free Spirit Dispatch was all about supporting my free spirits and just like living their truth. And so the same thing I'm doing with the Remembrance Room, I was doing there, but just monthly newsletters. And these newsletters were thick. Okay, they were long, they were very detailed. They're still up now. But then recently, as one thing about me, my apartment is the same way. As I expand in awareness, as I evolve, so does my spaces. And so Free Spirit Dispatch, I knew that I was transitioning out of it. I could feel it like towards month 7. I was like, yeah, something got to change. And then eventually the idea came to me to like actually come here and like show up here. And I was just like, okay, like what does that look like? And so the Remembrance Room is kind of just, it's evolving on its own. It's not something, I didn't plan anything. I don't have a picture of anything. I'm just like doing whatever. I lived a very aligned life. So I only do what I'm being told to do, whatever my inner guidance tell me to do. I don't do anything more. I really just don't do much, which is actually funny because I'm like, girl, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing,
You're just living though. Like,
nothing.
I know, I love that so much. And I am so surprised because I look at your Substack page here and like you've done work,
So,
lady.
so this is what I feel about, and I feel it's about a lot of people purposes, is that we've always been working towards it. You know what I mean? We've always been in our purpose. It just looks different in every season, right? The more you expand in awareness, the more you come home to yourself, the more you have to offer, right? The more you want to share, the more you have to say sometimes, because there's been seasons where I just have nothing to say. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
all I can do is show up, right? And that's just enough. But the Remembrance Room is really like years of my life. It's literally a mirror of my journey. That's all it is. It's a mirror of my exact journey, where I was in my ego, awakening to my ego. What happened once I awakened to my ego? Then I started being the player, where I'm just like, I'm doing what I want to do, right? And then it's like, you think you know a whole bunch of stuff, and then you realize you really don't know anything. And then you become like this super rebel, which is, I'm calling myself this super rebel, where it's just like, no, I'm literally not doing anything I don't want to do. If I don't want to work, I'm not working, right? And whatever happens happens. And it's just so interesting to just, it take a lot of guts to live in this world, and a lot of courage to live your truth in this world, especially when everyone is telling you how it should look and what's not okay. And oh, like, something looks a certain way and they think you're failing, where my story is still being written, right? You have no idea. I have no idea what's happening, but this is what I'm being led to do. And to be able to trust yourself despite what the world is saying outside of you, despite what your external look like. It's really been a journey, and the Remembrance Room is literally just a mirror of my experience. And I believe that the same way. So I have a couple of teachers. Eckhart Tolle would be one of them. Oshu would be one of them. Brene Brown was really good. Helped me with compassion. Compassion is like a big part of my work, and so yeah, like all of them was mirrors for me. And so I feel like it's the same thing for me. Like I'm also a mirror for other people, right? I'm also going to remind people how to get back home to themselves. And it's not about telling you what to do. It's just being a reflection to wake something up in you, so that you can get on your path, so you can remember your truth and do whatever it is you're being called to do. I don't know what the
I
hell it
love
is,
that.
right?
I
I'm just
love that
here.
so much. I love it. Yeah, I kind of had to embrace that same kind of energy after like kind of like after 28. I'm turning 32 this year. So the last few years have been like really, really pivotal in a lot of ways. Like I stopped, you know, doing the 9 to 5, the corporate, the expectations. And like it really is a different life on the
Yeah.
other side of having to answer to someone. And the possibilities really become like limitless. You can do whatever you want.
Yes. It's really real. I the journey is just so interesting to me, because there's a different version of you at every level. And like And right, I'm really into human design and astrology. Like, I'm not an astrologer or anything like that, but I read energy, and I've always been really good at reading energy and noticing patterns. And so it's funny when I look at my charts, they literally reflect who I am and like what I go through. And it's always funny because like I tend to go through something and realize something about myself, and then somehow I'll end up reading my chart, and I'll be like, look, you know what I mean? And it's just such a
Yes, I do.
confirmation. Cause you meet so many different versions of yourself. Like, relationships are my favorite thing. Romantic relationships have been my favorite thing. They have woken me up so much. They showed me so much of who I was and who I wasn't. And they are like my favorite thing. Like, I love, and it's really it's interesting because most um people are really guarded, right, in love, right? People are pretty much really guarded. Generally, I feel like a lot of people are guarded, not everyone, right? And so I'm just so whatever that is scary. And people tell me all the time, they be like, you're so nonchalant. And I was like, I'm not nonchalant. It's just that I'm not attached to anything.
Yeah.
I'm just not attached. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't,
feel
like,
like
I expect
finding
humans to be
somebody on
humans.
that same wavelength can be difficult.
Yeah. I'm just not attached because it's like whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, right? Like, I can't stop you from being who you are. You can't stop me from being who I am, right? Like, even if I try to change for you, it's not gonna last long. At some point, I'm gonna get exhausted. I'm gonna leave anyway. So it's like once I realized these patterns for myself, I was just like, yeah, you really can't be anything but yourself if you want to be
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah, and I think one thing about, like, noticing your patterns is, like, it's so powerful. I was talking to a friend earlier, and I said, "Once you see a pattern, you can't unsee it."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It'll be, like, always there, and so it takes, like, the guts and the bravery to follow your intuition at that
Hmm.
point and say, "Okay, it's scary, I'm taking the leap anyway."
Yeah. And also, one of the thing I used to always, and it's so interesting because I used to say some wise shit when I was younger, and I had no idea. And then like when I learned about Eckhart Tolle and like what he talks about, I'm like, I was journaling about this years ago before I even knew anything. And so I've known since a young age that I didn't want to live a 9 to 5. I knew that I never saw myself retiring. Um, I knew I was being called to something. I remember always. I was considering myself a Christian for a while, and so I remember literally praying, like, not praying, but I was like crying and telling God, like, I don't want to be responsible for other people. Like, I could feel that I was being called to something bigger, and I was like, I don't want to be responsible for other people. Like, I just don't. Even I went to law school. Even in law school, I got a vision, like, you're going to be traveling and speaking. Like, that's just that's what you're going to be called to do. And it freaked me out. Like, so many visions I used to get about myself freaked me out. Like, even my older sister, she was like, I dreamed about you. You have a calling on your life. And I'm like, I already know. Like, I already know. I don't know exactly how it unfolds, but I already know. And so, like, now it's just been a season of like, it's just so much you learn. Because I felt for such a long time, I thought I was ready to fully step in. And then I realized more and more it's like really interesting for you to try to guide someone when you're not even living your truth. And you don't have the bravery to do so. And I think now, like, being who I am now and how I live now is like, whoa, I would never thought I would be here, like, and be how I am, where I'm just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And I don't care what happens. Like,
Yeah, same. Like, it's been a really long journey for me to learn that and
yeah.
implement it, but oh my god, life is so much better this way.
Yeah, it's very freeing because you know that you can't control what you can't control, right? But the other thing is too is like people have this expectation that if you do all these things, then you're gonna be successful, whatever their idea, whatever. And I think success generally means like you have a job, you have money, you have an apartment or a home, whatever, right? I think that that's generally success for a lot of people, right? Like at least like at the foundation of it, that's what it is to be
Mhm.
an adult. But the reality of it, all this is made up, right? Even the idea that I should be working is made up. Even the idea that I should have a savings is made up. Even the idea that I should have life insurance is made up. Like, none of that is facts. And so, like, really unlearning all of that, right? Getting to a place where I'm just like, I don't have to do any of that. And like really asking myself, like, what is your truth? Because I think savings is a scarcity mindset. But that's just me, right? Like, And that's me today, right? I might think something different a year from now or 2 years from now. So I think that at the end of the day, there's just so much for us to question because we've been told for so long what life should look like. And that's what I feel like the remembrance room is all about. It's like literally question everything. Question what I'm saying, question what you're saying, question what everybody is saying. Like, because I think that only your inner self, only your inner compass, right? And it's not really inner because it's outside of, right? The soul is probably outside of us, but only we know what is correct for us. Only we know what is the truth for us. No one else can tell me what is the truth for me. And I think that that's such work. And I'm calling it, I stopped calling it work and I called it aligned assignment because I feel like that's really what it is. But it's like, even thinking about all of that, like it's so much I'm questioning because I'm like, I've been told for so long that all these things I have to do, but like none of it feels true for me, right? Like I'm not a person who believes everybody you only get one mother and father. That's crazy. Like I grew up in foster care and I was raised by parents who aren't my biological parents. And I have a deeper bond with them than with anyone. So it's for me, it's just like all this stuff is made up. Y'all are just telling people stories, and a lot of it is based in control. It's not really based in love. And so,
Yeah, it's definitely like a whole like societal construct. And
yeah,
I think maybe that's why some people like have a harder time breaking free from it.
mm,
But that's why I love building community here, and even like the notes feature here is you can
yeah,
just like plant a little seed and
yeah,
then like
yeah.
somebody will find it later.
And that's how I feel. I feel like we're planting seeds, watering seeds, or like harvesting, right? Like one of those things are always happening. And so, yeah, even along the journey, I had to learn, like, some people aren't ready to hear what you have to say, and that's okay. But I've had it where um this life is so good to me because it constantly shows me like what you're doing and what you say to people don't go unnoticed. Because I've had people come back to me years later. I'm not even thinking about them, and they'd be like, "Yo, remember that time you said this? Like, thank you." And I'm like, okay. Because I'm like, okay. But I get it though. I get it though. Because some things have to marinate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like even when I was like working normal jobs and everything, I always had like a side project, a passion project going. So
Mm,
I've always had this like creative energy to put
yeah.
into something. So now that I have the freedom to do it, I'm kind of reflecting a lot on how hard it was to get to this point. So I'm starting this Patreon page. It's
Yeah.
called Hippiness is the Collective. And it's for people who like have that drive in them, but they're not really sure what to do with that energy.
Mm.
So I think it should call to like, like I always like to refer to places where I've been. So a situation that
Yeah.
I've been in, um, and taking what I know now and making their path a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's literally like I told you. The remembrance room is nothing but a mirror of my journey. I'm not. This is not stuff I read in a book. I lived this. This is my life experience. Like, and I think that that's what it is, right? Like we go through. I truly believe. So I was like 16, and I used to live in Harlem, and I will never forget. I was looking out a window, and the spirit said to me like, what you're going through isn't about you. You're not being punished. I had just got out of foster care, and like my mom, it was like a year in, and my mom was like, because she's diagnosed with different things. No one told us. So it was like really, really new. And it wasn't like a year after we've been together, but she was like in and out of the hospital. It was just a lot going on. So maybe I was younger than 15. But I remember Spirit telling me, like, this isn't about you. This is bigger than you. And so I truly do believe that a lot of us go through things just so that we can resonate on a human level with one another, right? And so all of us are here to remember we're all coming from the same place, going to the same place. All of us is on an awakening journey, whether we call it that or not. Like that's just what's happening. That's why people say, oh, you don't stop growing.
Yeah, that's
We're
so
all
funny
talking about the
that
same thing, right? We're just labeling it something different maybe, but at the same time, like I feel like that's what we're here to do. Like we are helping other people remember their truth, right? Or awaken, or whatever it is they're struggling with, working a 9 to 5 and their passion project, right? You are someone who has that experience. Who better than to share that than someone who actually lived it, as opposed to someone who did research,
yeah, lived
or just research,
experience
not
is the
research. Okay.
best teacher. It really is because I mean, there's always like you're saying with like an always questioning mindset, like there's always something that can be learned if you ask what what is this showing me? What is this trying
Yeah.
to teach me? And that way, like every single day is a new journey, a new lesson. And, sharing that with others, your story just reminded me of when I was like deep in my healing journey and just kind of coming out the cusp, coming out the other side.
Yeah.
I remembered that when I was a kid, I had to have been like no more than 9. I remember like a feeling that I was sitting in and I said, someday I'm going to write a book. And so
Mm.
like nobody else has to feel this. And
Yeah.
like in a moment, it came like rushing back to me. And I was like,
I've
it's
had those
time.
moments before where I was like, wait, we prayed for, we talked about this, and that's what I feel like that about all my stuff. Like, I don't feel like anything I'm doing is really new. I feel like it's refined. Like, my remembrance room is just a vision I had before that I'm actually ready to completely implement. And like, the remembrance room is like my favorite thing. It's like my baby, because it's like, it's so funny to me how like it's just years of like all this stuff I'm talking about, I've been talking about, right? But I'm just changing, refining it, and it's like it makes more sense now. It makes sense as a pattern, or like as a path, and it's so funny to me. I'm like, yo, I had you told me this when I first had my awakening, my dark night of the soul. I didn't know what the heck was that, where we was going. There were so many times I thought I had made it, and to be here now is just like wow. And but that's why I also like slow down. I'm just like not rushing anymore. I'm not trying to, I don't follow any rules anymore. I don't do any marketing. Like, I just really be like, if my spirit don't tell me I'm do should to do it, I don't do it, only because like conditioning will really have you wrapped up doing stuff that you ain't got nothing to do with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, it's really cool because once you have the ability and, the time to, designate to listening to your
Yeah.
intuition, you really do get to feel what is pulling you and what's like,
Right.
what's not for you. So it's really interesting, as you said, to keep like refining it because
Hmm.
like the lessons we learned in the past aren't like null and void, but there's a caveat here that we didn't see 10 years ago.
Yeah. And then other thing too, right, is like in this journey, you'll like I always, so the spiral is like my favorite symbol. Like, I have it tattooed on me. It is my life symbol. I love the spiral because I always think about, like, I think about staircase, and I'm like, on this awakening journey, like, you will realize like there's a version of you that you had to become in order to get to a more freer version of you. Like, there was no way for you to jump from where you were to like from where I was to here. Like, there had to be things happening in between. And so like um I have a guidebook called The Creator's Path. I'm returning to the void. And it's all about like, it's from the lens of the higher self, where the higher self is literally guiding you and telling you, like, you just forgot who you were, right? Like, basically talking to the ego aspect of us. Like, you forgot who you were, but all of this is us, right? You're really me, right? You're really the higher self. And in that journey, like, you have your reality, you have your ideal, and in between is where life is happening. That's where you're meeting up against those bumps that are making you realize like that's not who you are, right? And you're transmuting energy and you're allowing that flow. But a lot of times we have to experience those things that kind of wake us up to let us know, like, this version of you, though it was helpful, you no longer need that, right? This belief you had, though it was helpful, you no longer need that. And so it's these reminders that like life happens in between, right? All this manifesting stuff, like, yeah, that version of you already exists, but you have to like let go of whatever's in the way of, who you are expressing as now, and that version of you. And that's where life is happening, right? That's where the awakenings are happening. That's where you're being activated and you're transmuting and all these things. So it's real. I'm like obsessed with the human experience, and I've been obsessed forever. Now I just have words for it, but I'm obsessed with the human experience.
Ah, that is so, so cool. Oh my god, have you done any, like, motivational speaking yet?
No, not really. And it's so funny because everybody, even my doctor, my doctor, she be like, "You need to come and speak," and I'm like, "It's
No,
coming,
yet?
it's
I mean,
coming."
you said that before, and I was like, "Yup."
Because I don't, I think for me, I don't even know how to get started. So I think I don't know if it's gonna be like an accidental thing. But like I told you, like I got that message that I'm gonna be speaking and traveling. I don't know how it's gonna happen because, like I said, I don't do the most. I just be chilling. I just be talking my shit and minding my business. And just be going about my business. But I that's definitely something I want to do. I want to be on panels. I'm a chatty box.
Yeah, that
I'm
is
a
so
Gemini
cool.
rising. I chat all day.
And like that paired with like just like this urge to learn continuously
Mm,
and like not discredit, other ideas, just be open.
right. Yeah.
It, I don't
You know,
know,
I
like the
so
whole mindset just like blows
thank
me out of the
thank
water.
you. Yeah, I honestly think that everybody's truth is relevant. I think it's part of the whole. So for me, it's like, don't get me wrong. Yes, I've been that person that rejected people's beliefs, but that's because of my fear, right? That's because of
Hmm.
my own discomfort and my reality being shattered, right? My fear that my reality is going to be shattered. But now that like I'm not attached to anything, and I believe that everything is a part of the whole, I can hold space for everybody because I'm just like, your reality and your truth is not going to change my truth. Your belief is not going to
Absolutely.
change my truth. I can always remove myself from your world. I don't have to be here. So for me, it's just like, I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to be arguing with you about your beliefs. I think everything can exist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I love your perspective.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot because I was in the military, right? So I had a lot of conditioning from different ways, right? You go from being in foster care to being in a chaotic household to being in the military. Then I was in law school, and then at some point was in social work school, right? So I'm in all these spaces that are like telling you, right? They all have different cultures, and so it's been
And there's
really
something
interesting.
so beautiful in that, though, is that you kind of get to taste everything too. You're a projector, right?
Yes.
Yo, bro.
Yep. Yep.
Same. So like kind of just getting to taste around for
Yeah.
things.
And so
Oh,
I also have a undefined G center, right? And like the G center is all about identity and
uh-huh.
direction. So it makes sense that I'm all over the place, right? And like growing up, I used to like judge myself because everybody else told me that I was confused, and I was like, I don't feel confused. Like I just think I do what I want, right? Like,
Yeah, man.
but like everybody around me is very like structured, right? Like I have a whole bunch of, like, my dad is a Capricorn. He was a Capricorn sun, moon, and rising. He don't know nothing about no, and he's older, right? And so like he started having kids at a very young age. So him, like, he's a very practical person. And so what?
Yeah, I definitely get that feeling of like disconnect, but not in a bad way, but just in like a kind of like connecting with your higher self kind of way.
Mhm.
I've always felt like the ability to kind of zoom out from situations a bit and kind of
Yeah.
see them.
That's a
Um,
very projected thing too, right? Like that ability to see the bigger picture of things and then be able to zoom in to see like, all right, this can be corrected, or you know what I mean?
right.
What can use some shifts? Not corrected, but
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Me and my dad, when because like, he passed about 2 or 3 years ago now. Yeah, 3 years ago now. But like by the time he passed, like one of my favorite people. But I think that that's the beauty too of relationships. It like because it shows you how they also can grow, right? How other people are also limited in their idea of what can happen in life because of their fears. And my dad told me, he was like, I was scared for you. He was like, you don't have no kids. You don't have any children. You're not married. If something happens to you, I'm still responsible for you, right? But I've never been a parent, right? So I'm not thinking about the things he's thinking about, right? Like, I'm just thinking I'm grown. Whatever happens, I have to deal with it. And in his mind, he's like, no, whatever happens, I still got to take care of you, girl. Like, and so
Wow. Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about how my choices was, whether or not he was correct or incorrect, right? But that was his beliefs as a father, and I was unaware of that. And so I also learned that like his way of showing love was so different than what I thought love should look like, right? Like he is more of like, you can call me, I'm showing up, right? You tell me you need money for something. If it's an absolute need, I got you. But if it's just you want to go out and party, I ain't gotta pay for that. You too grown. Go ask somebody else. But like I had to really learn. Like I have so much love for parents, and I definitely treat them very differently. I became a person who I took away my labels for both my parents. I stopped seeing them as mother or father and just started seeing them as humans, and that's how I started like dealing with our relationship. And now And then our relationships became very honest, right? They weren't just dealing with me because I was their daughter, right? Because I didn't want that. If you don't like me, it's okay not to like me. It's okay to love me and not like me. I think that's a very fair thing. But a lot of people won't allow that, right? Like, you're a parent, so you have to care about your child. But what if I don't? And I
Yeah.
don't think, yeah, I think for me and my mother, it's so funny. So me and random tangent, but this goes back to like our journey and this idea of like how things have to be. So me and my mother has 3 children. I never saw my biological mother as a parent. I don't know why. I never felt it. I felt like she was a sibling. I just felt like that. I was just like, she's the homie. She's the homie. She's the homie. And I actually got a past life reading, and they said she was my brother in the past life. But that was something I just always felt. I just don't feel like we're like I do believe she was meant to bring me into this world, but she wasn't meant to keep me. And she told me one time she was going through a schizophrenic episode, and she was like, "You were supposed to be an abortion." I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't saying nothing. I wasn't even in the same room as her. She just yelled it. And every time she would have episodes, she would yell a different secret, and it was just like, "Girl, like, what did I do to you?" And so I just knew, like, I eventually like stopped talking to her, but like I'm not against speaking to her ever again because I love her down. I think she's an amazing human. I'm obsessed with her freedom, and but I also respect her choice not to want to be a parent to me. There's something about me that just does not sit well with her, and I think that she gets to be free. And so I do
Yeah.
respect her in that
That
way to like
sounds
let her go.
like a really like mature and developed approach that I never have heard before.
Yeah.
Because my mother and I have a similar, very like disconnected
Mhm.
relationship. It was never really nurturing in any
Yeah.
way for either of us, I don't think. So framing them as just a person and not a parent is so
Yo, it changed
interesting.
everything. When I tell you, like, I even wrote her letters before. Like, we actually had a friendship at some point. Like, because I respect, because I get it, right? Like, she was abused too, and like, I don't think that we think about what happens to our parents, right? Like, they get they go through whatever abuse they go through growing up. Then they have children, right? These are at different times too, right? And so everybody's in survival mode. Everybody's just go 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 go. And for my mom, she ended up on drugs and all this other stuff, right? And then you're diagnosed with stuff. Then your kids get taken away, right? And then everybody's pressuring you to get your kids back, right? And if you don't get your children back, I'm working on not saying kids because apparently, like, kids is like donkeys, baby donkeys. I don't know, some animal. But I heard it from a judge.
I think
I
it's a
never
goat.
Googled it
I
though.
think it's a baby goat.
Baby goat. Thank you. See, I just know it's an animal. My bad. So kids is a baby goat. Thank you. I just know that it's not a human. Okay. Okay. So I'm trying to work on saying children. But yeah, like, I feel like we don't think about like all of that. And so when I think about the bruises I've seen on my mom and all the abuse she's been through and like all of that, like, I can't help but have empathy. Like, because I don't know what that's like. I don't even know what it's like to stay in that body knowing it's been abused. Like, that's crazy to me, to actually have to be in that body with those reminders on you that maybe you think your parents didn't love you. Maybe you think that they didn't care about you. You know what I mean? Like, all these stories that are also attached to it. And then you get on all these medications. You're not actually getting therapy. So I think about all that stuff. And for me, it's just like, no, I'm not going to add to that story. I'm not going to make her a villain when, yeah, you could easily say, like, oh, that's her work to do. When? It's a privilege to actually be able to pause. I'm only where I am now because, like, all the things I did ahead of time. That's probably why I feel
Absolutely.
safe enough to probably do what I be doing. But I don't know, right? I don't know what it's like to have children not just be responsible for yourself. So yeah, it's like a million things I think about, and I like think about who my dad became later in life, who my mom was throughout her life, and I just understand them as humans. I really, really do, and I don't think that I don't feel the need to put pressure on anybody because of a choice they made. Yes, you had children. Yes, that happened. But I think it's also okay to be like, fuck those damn kids. I don't want to have to deal with them. And do whatever you can. I think that it should be easier for people to give away their children too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I could go on and
Because
on and
especially
on
with
and
all
on
the
and
deaths
on.
that's been happening. No.
Yeah. I mean, I really think when you think about it, like spiritually, and the way that, children who experience, whatever kind of childhood, how
Yeah.
it impacts us and what we grow into. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah.
And it
I,
definitely it definitely helps to like humanize and empathize with what your parents did or didn't do because they're just a person too.
That's it. That's it. We are all on the same journey, whether we're aware of it or not. We're all on the same journey. So for me, it's easy to like, and I have no issue. Again, remember, I'm not attached to anything, so I have no issues going no contact. Like I will not talk to you for years. I do not care, and I'm not. And like I remember people be like, "Oh, you're gonna regret it." We'll see. We'll see because
Yeah.
I'm willing to risk it because I can't see myself ever regretting it because I know who I am and I know what I've done and I know the part I played, right? So I will have no regrets. I've told my mom what I felt about her. I told her I love her. I told her I respect her. Despite what she's been through, she chooses to continue to live. Remember, living is a choice too. Whether people like it or not, it is also a choice. So I respect her choices. Like I respect I think for me it's just like I'm at peace with both of us being at peace, and I don't want to be an extra burden for her to be carrying still. She gets to be free, at least free from the idea that she has another child that whatever she feels about that she doesn't want to deal with. But she doesn't talk to me or my brother, so
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
isn't
I
kind to
mean,
my sister. But here we are.
that's the beauty of like release to like really doing that internal work and going through it and figuring it out and revising
Yeah,
and coming back to yourself.
yeah.
That's like our first home.
Yeah, and it's wild. It's such an interesting journey though because it's like these there's so many expectations of what life has to look like. There's so many expectations of what it means to be human. And if you don't do some of them, right, you're judged for it. You're told that you are cold, you're this, you're that. But like it's like, okay. Like I don't know what to tell y'all.
Yeah, I'm
But
just being me.
yeah, because y'all would rather be y'all think being in an abusive relationship is a better option, right? And abuse doesn't have to be physical. You know, abuse is verbal, right? Like you talked about with children at a young age. I thought about it a lot. I was like, how am I so confident, right? Like I'm so like you can't tell me nothing. And I was like, you know what? I never grew up with people comparing me to people. Like despite like I was always smart, right? According to school and everything else. So like there was never anybody in the house where I was compared to like, oh, why can't you be like this person? So I never dealt with comparisons. I never was told you're stupid. I never was called ugly. You know, I never was like I used to be really skinny, and that was the only thing I was picked on about, like being really skinny. And the boys used to be like, you don't have an ass. That was the only thing I was picked on about, but like nothing else. You know what I mean? So I never had to internalize things about myself besides probably my attitude or that I talk too much or stuff like that. But like anything else, I never internalized because no one was saying that to me. But then I think about like my cousins and my sister and the things that was said to them, and like I see that play out in their life, right? I can see them being people pleasers because like they just don't want to deal with the drama and the chaos and or like the abandonment, right? Me, I'm like I got to a point where I'm just like, oh, abandon me, please go, rip the band-aid off, let it happen, you know, like
Really, I'll be fine.
yeah, because even if it hurts, right, even if my heart feel like it's broken, life is gonna go on. I've felt
Yeah.
heartbreak before, and guess what? All it does is open you up to more of your truth. You realize how capable you are. Okay, like so that's where I am. I'm just very much like, and that's what the remembrance room is too. Is like I know what it's like to also be on the other side where it's just like my nervous system is anxious about everything. Everything's an issue, right? Like I want to speak up, but I'm so scared to speak up because I don't know. I'm wondering how people are going to take it. And it's like, girl, if you don't just say it, please, somebody needs to hear it, right? And so it's like,
Yeah.
I know
It's
all of that.
that's the funny thing about the nervous system too is like they'll take it and take it and take it and take it, but the day you step too far, it's like a show. Oh
Yeah.
my god, she's the same thing to me. Sent me right back. It's like, all right, take it all away then.
Yeah. The
And
nervous,
it
yeah.
was the best thing that could have happened, you know?
That listen, I'm always for heartbreak. I'm always for ripping band-aids. So I just feel like it doesn't matter. Like what's gonna happen? The reality is we live through it all. We live through it all. And something I always tell myself is like only two things gonna happen. You're gonna keep living or you're gonna die. So whatever one happens, you'll be fine. Like there's no I don't think we none of I don't know if we ever I think what's amazing about this world is that none of us know what's gonna happen after this. We know we're all going somewhere after this
Yeah.
spiritually, but no one really knows. And I just think we go to another realm. I think that there's just another frequency we end up in. And so I'm just like, whatever. Like the message lately has been coming loud to me. And I was talking about it. I have like a channeling podcast called don't ask me, I'm just a messenger. I recently started, like, I really am stepping into my confidence with like just trusting what's coming to me. And the message lately has been like, you're going to die, right? Like you're not going to have this body forever. And so you have to decide if you truly want to live. And living and having a well-lived life is more about what feels aligned for you than it is about what the world's telling you to do. And so, like, I'm constantly asking myself, are you living or are you just existing, trying to follow these status quo so that you can, like, stay in survival mode? Because that's really what it is. I just, and I'm kind of done with that. I'm just like, eh.
Yeah. One thing I do miss about TikTok, because it used to be part of my everyday, is Bashar. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I actually learned about Bashar a couple of months ago. And it was right. He came to my awareness, and Bashar talks about this too. He came to my awareness after I was telling, like, self, like, I'm ready to start channeling more, right? Like, I already consider myself an energy channeler, so that's nothing new. But I was ready to start sharing more of my channeling with the world, because clearly I do it for myself. But like, and he came into my awareness, and like, I swear you always gonna get what you need. And he talks about that too, how like life is mirroring to you.
Yeah, and he also talks about acting on your highest excitement and
Oh
that being
yes,
like the greatest tool to connecting with like our truest self. So that's
yeah,
something that I've like incorporated into life a lot. It's like if I'm sitting down to write and it doesn't feel like it's coming, I'll say, is this my highest excitement right now? If it's no, okay, I'm walking away.
yeah.
I'm gonna do what is.
And you know how I was talking about refinement earlier. So a couple of years ago, I used to work in housing. I used to be an attorney for housing, right? And we used to be an attorney for the tenants. And there was a client in court, and basically the client was like that they don't have a choice, right? And the judge was like, you always have a choice. You may not like the choices, but you always have a choice. Now me, I took that and I ran with it. Oh, taking back my power, right? And so like Bashar also talks about like doing the things that you most prefer, right? So basically I took that idea and then I took Bashar's idea and I meshed them together, and it's like I always have a choice. What do I most prefer in this moment? And so like that's how I've been living, like where I'm just like, okay, what do I these are the options in front of me. What do I most prefer right now, right? And I just do that. And I feel like even I got a vision like a couple of days ago when I was doing that podcast about like at some point you're going to leave this body, and so like enjoy it while it's here, enjoy your in between. um and a vision I got is like this constant unfolding, that every time you're making a choice, the path is unfolding, the path is unfolding. And so when I think about that, I'm like, yes, like that's just a reminder that the story is still being written. So many times we probably thought like this was the end all be all, what's gonna happen, scared and fearful, but worked itself out. Life is always going to work itself out. Like you're either gonna die or keep living. So, and they say we're already dead, but I haven't got there yet from the
I
slumber. So
love that. Thank you so much for sitting down with me this morning. I
yeah.
love your energy. I love what you're doing.
Yes, I'm excited. Did your book already come out, or are you
Yeah,
still
my
like?
book is available. It's in its early stages. So right now I'm pushing out a series,
Mhm.
like one entry a week about like a behind the scenes snippet of how it came to light. And then when that is done, I'm going to start just doing lives on it. I'm just going to roll it out and start talking
Yeah,
about all the concepts in it and going through like the exercises and the visualizations, the mind maps that I put in it.
yeah.
So,
We should do an interview on it. I should interview you. I told you I love. I don't know why. I just like love
okay,
hearing
I would
people's
do
stories.
that. Heck yeah, we could absolutely
Yeah. So
do
when you're
that.
ready, yes, I'll order one, and then that way I know what's in it clearly. So I can ask you questions about like the development and stuff, just so you can have it too on your page.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone who joined us. This was so much fun. I hope you took something away that is going to nourish your soul for the rest of the day.
Yes, this was amazing.
Thanks so much, Charlie. It was so good to meet you and
So
sit
good.
down.
Yeah, thank you, Em. I appreciate you.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys.